back, relax, and maybe get yourself a snack. Me and you gonna have a little chat about books. Hey guys! So I am here today to talk to you about one of my new favourite books, and a book that I was definitely excited about, but I was also a little bit unsure about, and that is this one, Skyward by Brandon Sanderson. This is Sanderson's newest release. It is also his first ever full-length science fiction read. He predominantly writes fantasy reads. He also mostly writes his adult fiction. I would put this in the YA category as well, so this was an interesting change. And Sanderson is actually one of my favourite authors. He writes really impressive, very complex magic systems. He has a really approachable style, I think, and he's one of the authors whose books I always recommend to new people coming into the genre, because it's very easy to get into, very fast-paced and fun, but it also has a lot going on, and you do feel like you're reading fantasy. There's a lot of characters, there's a lot of interesting magic, and he always delivers. So, obviously you guys know I like sci-fi, and I do, but I'm a little bit more picky with my sci-fi than I am with my fantasy. I know exactly what I like in fantasy, and I'm good at picking books that I know I'll like. With sci-fi, I am less well versed in that genre, so I know what I like when I like it, but I don't always pick the best sci-fis, and I was unsure how Sanderson was going to approach it. I'm happy to say I loved this book, and it was definitely the kind of read that I think loads of you guys would love, and the kind of book that I think just came across as a really good sci-fi, but also a really good Sanderson, and it blended both of those things perfectly. So Sanderson can clearly write fantasy and science fiction. He can also write 10 million books at once. He's just a wizard, let's face it. So, what is this book all about? This is the story of a young girl called Spencer, who is kind of, in the start of the book, she's very, very young. She's a child, and her father is part of this force of humans who have landed on a planet many hundreds of years ago. They've broken up into different clans all over the planet because they are being harassed by an alien force, and the only way to fight back is to go into hiding and try and develop software and weapons that can fight back. And now they're at a point in their sort of development where they can fight back, and in fact her father is one of the first few pilots who's really being recognised, and he's one of these people who a lot of people look up to and they admire. And then something happens, and Spencer's father is a deserter. He deserts his team, he abandons everyone, he is a coward. And he is branded a coward in the worst way. He just vanishes. No one knows exactly why. Spencer and her family are really, really heartbroken by the loss of her father, but also by the fact that he has been branded a coward, and she just doesn't believe in what this means. She just doesn't think that her father would be the sort of person to just abandon everyone. She knows, even though she was young when he left, she knows he's not that kind of guy. So she knows there must be more to the story than everyone is letting on. However, the effect is very much a knock-on effect, and Spencer and her family, her mother and her grandmother, are all branded like the family of a coward, and it's a stain on them. So Spencer is looked down upon by friends. People don't like her, they don't want to socialise with her, they don't want to be partnered with her. She's just not really the kind of girl who gets a lot of friends, and it's all because of her father and the betrayal of the society. So Spencer is a bit of a weirdo because of this. She's grown up with not many friends. She's also grown up with a gran who tells her all these amazing stories about people who fight back against depression, and they stand up for what they believe in, and they chase the stars, and they do everything they can to kind of be the best. She's very much fascinated by these stories. She loves the concepts of heroes. She wants to be the kind of person that everyone admires because that is what she craves. She knows at the moment she can't have that because people just don't admire her. They don't look at her in a good way. They put her down. And she only has really one friend who is called Rig, and he's like the ultra intelligent nerdy guy, and she's like the outcast. So they've kind of banded together, and they're really, really good friends. She's a very good character. I feel like the whole way through this book she's really developed, and we get inside her head a lot, and we see why she does things and kind of who she is and how she could have been taught to grow up this way by the isolation that people force on her and the rude comments and so on. I just think she's a great character right from the start. I connected, I found her really easy to like and to support, and that's always good. So once we've had the scenario with her father, and the present day is now with her kind of being a teenager, She wants to get into flight school in order to become a pilot herself and basically redeem her family name and make sure that people tell her the truth about her father. She wants to know what really happened. So all of that is leading to her joining flight school and hopefully becoming a world-class pilot. She's been studying for this for absolutely ages and ages. It's the only thing she wants to be, the only aspiration she has, and she knows she can do it. However, society is not going to let her just walk on in and become a pilot when the cowardly act of her father is still very much remembered by everyone. So she faces a big challenge in order to get into flight school, but of course it wouldn't be a Sanderson book if she can't overcome challenges, and so the story goes from there. Now, there were a lot of elements that I really liked in this. I think the way the setup of the society is done is really cool, and the way that they're kind of constantly fighting back against this alien race. The aliens are called the Krell, and not much is known about them, but they are very pattern based. They do a lot of the same things, so although they are more advanced in terms of technology, their thinking patterns seem to be less advanced because they just repeat things over and over, which is the only way that humanity has managed to fight back against them all these years. The Krell have superior weaponry and fighting machines, and the humans are just kind of clinging on. However, as time goes by, we see that development is in the works, and we also follow the insides of the flight school and the insides of people working in the government. We see lots of different perspectives here and there, but obviously Spencer is our main character. But we do follow kind of the captain of everyone, and we follow the flight instructor, who is a good friend of her father's when he was flying, and things like that. We also see Spencer develop a friendship as the time goes on with other members of the team. So we see a young girl called Kimmerlin, and her friend Rig is already one that I've mentioned. We also see a slug called Doomslug, who is kind of a character that she finds in a cave. He's a slug, and he's orange and blue, and he's probably the coolest character ever, because, like, what other fantasy books do you know that just have a slug character? Not many, right? It's bizarre. But anyway, he's a really cool character. We have M-Bot, who is a kind of artificial intelligence in an abandoned spaceship that she finds. There's a lot of characters, there's a lot going on, there's so many different elements. We have the society and the way that the society is built. I'll show you inside this book actually, because the insides are really beautiful, like the end pages are beautiful, but then there's also some maps in here which I think are really cool. So in here you can see this page on this side shows you the caverns that they live in. So we have Igneous, which is where all of the flight school is based, and then we have the deep caverns down here at the bottom, which is where she grew up and where kind of the poor people live. We also have the base where they train, and we have the perimeter on here. And then as you go through the book, you also get different illustrations of like the ships and stuff at the start of each of the parts. So there's a lot of really cool bits in the book as well, like illustrated bits. And this book is just really fun. Like, it's a fun story. There's a lot of light-hearted moments where they're just having a laugh and they're racing ships. The battles are fast-paced and interesting, like in-your-face battles. You feel like you're there in the action. I kind of hate battle scenes in most books, you guys know this, but I do think Sanderson does a really good job of battle scenes. He really makes you feel like it's action and it's not just words. It's like you're there, you're in the cockpit with them, you're flying the machines and you're being attacked, and it's really fun. It's like adrenaline and exciting, and you're with the characters and you're rooting for them. So I like that as well. I also really enjoyed the elements of just the friendship in this book. I think that Spencer has a lot to learn about friendship. She's only really had one friend for her whole life, and as she goes through the process of trying to get into flight school, she actually gets a lot of friends and she gains them, and they're really, really close and loyal and helpful, and she kind of learns a lot from them because she hasn't had her father in her life. She's been ostracized a lot from different society. Her friends are really sticking by her and they help her a lot. But there are some darker moments as well. Like I said, she's essentially been bullied her whole life, and it's definitely got some sad moments of betrayal. But yeah, I don't know, it's got everything. It's got a bit of everything, which is what I like in a Sanderson book. It feels so easy to read, and I read this in a day. It's 500 and something pages, and I read it in a day because it's just really good, like super good. The audiobook I would also recommend. I did listen to some of it on audio, and I read some of it in physical form. Which is why I like the illustrations and stuff, but honestly it's so good and I thoroughly recommend it. I wasn't sure if I was going to like it, but I did, and I ended up giving it a really solid 5 out of 5 stars, so obviously I recommend it. It's the first in a series, so I believe there will be more coming, and I cannot wait for that because it's gonna be good. So good. So definitely recommend this one, guys. Let me know if you read it. Let me know if you're gonna be picking this one up, what you thought of it, if you read it. I will see you all very soon in my next video. Bye, guys.
Thank you for watching my video today. Go pick up a book, then come back and chat with me again.